So you've come here for the truth. Well, we've got the truth and nothing but the truth. Here are your hosts, Robert A. Bianchi and David J. Bruno.
Okay, hey everybody, it's Bob and Dave. Newsletter. Dave, it's been a while since we put one up, but there's a lot of activity going on. Of course, we want to thank you guys all for the support, and we're really, really grateful that we see that all these people that are opening up the newsletter and reading the content. So that's great. Thank you.
That is a good point, Bob. Well, first of all, thank you for all the referrals and the trust in our team of former prosecutors to handle the criminal defense, domestic violence, municipal court cases. And then, the engagement, Bob. I mean, great for bringing that up. Thank you. Everybody. It's not only opening the emails, but also on all these platforms too. Mm-hmm. I mean, because we're doing our best. One of our focuses is trying to get out value to our community and stay in contact. And certainly we see everybody that engages in our posts. You guys are awesome and we appreciate you. Spring is in the air, Bob. It's getting warm. And we got a big week coming up too.
Yeah.
One of my favorites of the year, State Bar Association down in Atlantic City, and we're bringing the crew once again. Chris Eaton was just in the office telling us how much he's looking forward to just going down there, going to all the CLEs and really seeing the community in Atlantic City, and I am excited as well.
Yeah. So look, it's always great because it's about community, and we've been very big in the law firm, always about community. And so we have these tools now, and with your help, getting it out there and sharing and liking the stuff that we have, opportunity to really expand. But this is the one time during the year we all get to let our hair down a little bit too. So, we always go for a really big dinner and a couple drinks and enjoy our time together as we go and meet our colleagues, which is always great. And being given the honor, Dave, of having two people in this law firm who have been asked to lecture once again down to New Jersey State Bar Association. So we don't take that lightly. It's a great honor to be asked. And I love some of the topics that I'm getting into lately. Like I've always, since we started this firm, I've always believed in trying to do the Joyful Journey program. Or remember when we were kind of being not attacked, but people were like, why do you have an inspirational blog on your website? Why do we go to Dr. Brene Brown and get trained on how to help people when they're going through difficult times? And guess what now everyone is talking about attorney wellness, and you're big into that area now. And I'm going to be able to be speaking, which I think is a really cool topic, on your legacy. And in law, you can do so many things. And I just did a video on that, right? All the different things you can do that aren't necessarily law related, but it's such a great topic. So do we think about what our legacy is going to be, which I've always done. And so I'm really excited to have a panel of lawyers that are going to really engage in this topic, and that supplements all the kind of stuff that you're doing on the wellness side. Oh,
without a doubt, Bob. Like you said, we're both very fortunate. I'll be in the family part with my family law colleagues talking about the intersection of criminal law and domestic violence law. And that's something we've been talking about since we were prosecutors, really. And that's one of the reasons that we're so active in the family law section at the State Bar Association. We've been sponsoring for about 10 years now the family law retreats, which we also have a lot of fun at. But when we were prosecutors, we just saw the crimes emanating from the matrimonial context. It lined us up very nicely into the final restraining order hearings in the family part. And here we are again talking about the intersection of criminal law and domestic violence.
Yeah, and so I guess maybe, we riff here. We have like loose notes, but it's not like we have these things down. But we want to thank our family law partners, strategic partners who refer cases here. But so for those of you who know, and maybe some who don't, Dave is so right about that when we were prosecutors, we talked about how today's domestic violence is tomorrow's murder. Like that was one of the lines we would use. But we talked about the whole set of cases that emanate out of a matrimonial context, like privacy violation, stalking, all the various crimes that occur when love has gone awry and relationships are breaking up. And with our firm, it was not only great that we're with the family law attorneys, because we've learned a lot about what their stresses are, what their concerns are, and how we can actually be a force multiplier for them when they refer a domestic violence case. Because a lot of times domestic violence, even though we don't do matrimonial, but domestic violence, what happens there can affect, Dave, right, the matrimonial case. And so all of our lawyers, when they come into the Bianchi Law Group, in addition to the fact that they're former prosecutors, is they go through a rigorous training. Dave has got like a Bible, the Bible of Yeah, a lot of people don't know about the Bible. He's got it. It's got it covered. It's got it covered.
Yeah.
But all of our lawyers are trained kind of like from what we've learned, and not just how to handle a domestic violence case, but how to work with the matrimonial lawyer, which I think is just as important.
Yeah, without a doubt. The prosecutors that we have on staff, they come out with the skills to walk into the restraining order actions and cross-examine witnesses, argue elements of crimes, right? Because when we talk about domestic violence restraining orders, they're required predicate acts that come from the criminal code. And as prosecutors, we prosecuted those. But there's a whole nother area that you really need to know in the restraining order actions, which we were able to learn on the fly very quickly. But that's about equitable distribution and parenting time and custody and all the things that could have an effect on the matrimonial action. Mm-hmm. It's actually something we're talking about in Atlantic City. So that's why. And when we talk about this book that we put together, we're taking all the case law, all of the statutes, because domestic violence is found in statutes and rules and guidelines and directives,
right.
All different type places all across the law. We consolidate that. And it's literally, it reminds me of the on-duty assistant prosecutor book that used to go around when we were prosecutors, because we had to, as assistant prosecutors, Bob was the boss, so he didn't have to do this, but he went out to homicide scenes. But the assistant prosecutors were on call 24/7. And when you got that week, it was the dreaded week, because literally it'd be like the calls at 3:00 in the morning from the police departments on domestic violence cases.
Yeah.
And it really just reminds me of that book that gets sent around the office when somebody has the need. And, we laugh about it now, but it's a great tool that we have here at the Bianchi Law Group.
Yeah, and I just to add to that, that book has all the things that Dave said, plus the cutting edge evidence rules, which are so crucial. And I think this is one of the greatest strengths we have as former prosecutors who really know those evidence rules, the changes in the evidence rules. Because the fact of the matter is, and as all of our lawyer friends know, if you can't get it admitted, it doesn't exist. Okay. And so we have really been successful at stopping evidence from coming in and also getting evidence in. So this is what we love delivering. And so I want to make it clear that all of our lawyers are trained on these techniques and practices. And that's why then, last point, the huddle for us is so important. And we meet 3 days a week and we go over all the cases, Dave, myself, the entire staff. So we're all working on the same point. A lot of times references to that manual, and we're always updating it. Here's the new evidence rule. Here's a new case. So we're all on that same page, and we're really proud of that. So we appreciate the referrals, and we appreciate representing those clients with excellence.
Yeah, I mean, that huddle is critical. But guess what? We also have Christina Hall on staff.
Yeah.
I mean, we call air support to the trial attorneys, retiring from the appellate division after 33 years. And if I don't know the answer, if Bob doesn't know the answer, and the rest of the former prosecutors don't know the answer, then we have our air support, Christina Hall. She's there either on the fly or giving us a detailed memo. So
yeah, just to be clear, she was the director of the attorney staff that assisted the appellate division judges in writing their opinions. A pretty big position.
All right.
All right. So we beat that one up, and it's important. What we got next?
Well, the day in Atlantic City doesn't stop then.
Oh, yeah.
So it's Thursday, May 16th. I'll be on at 8:30 a.m. I'll be waking up and getting down there. And then Bob gets to sleep a little later at 10:30. But we're not done on that day, because we have more. The New Jersey Prevention Network is a nonprofit in the state of New Jersey that is responsible for education of addiction programs and also mental health programs. And they also educate the licensed counselors and social workers in the state of New Jersey. And I've been a board member at NJPN since 2016. And every year they have their annual convention. And we've been down there as sponsors before in my capacity as a board member as well. But we're so proud of this. This is the first year that we are actually having our own workshop for the convention. And they'll be welcome to come into the room. It's a 2-hour workshop. We're bringing Christina Hall as well. So it'll be me, Bob, and Christina Hall. And we're going to be talking about the important collaborations between criminal defense attorneys and addiction counselors and mental health providers so that we could work together for the better of our clients.
So, this ties back to the last topic we talked about. What is really interesting to me is that when we were talking about Brene Brown and getting trained and wellness, and it was kind of like an outside concept, and people were kind of looking, not askance, but looking like, why are you guys doing that? We were also in the space from all the way when I was back to prosecutor to mental health and addiction. And I am a huge believer that the criminal justice system, I felt this way as a prosecutor, can be used in a positive way in order to help people with mental health issues and addiction issues so that they can look back. And I say this to our clients all the time. And in 5 years say, well, I never want to go through that criminal law problem again. I feel like it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I got rehabbed. And when we were working the addiction counselor and mental health professionals, when we first started the Bianchi Law Group, much like the wellness stuff we were doing, it didn't seem to really click on their side. No disrespect. It was a novel thing. We were saying to them, and we will be saying to them, I'm sure, that a person with mental health issues or addiction issues has a constellation of problems. And being addicted and treating that addiction is part of a larger thing. There's collateral consequences happening with criminal charges. And if we can leverage together mental health and addiction counseling and working towards a healthier person, that not only helps their case in the criminal world, but it allows us to be able to make arguments to prosecutors that the treatment of the defendant be less severe and that the treatment be allowed to be ongoing. It's such a key thing. It's a win-win. So to actually be asked now to go down and talk about this, to instead of us kind of screaming in the wind, is to me another validation that what we've been thinking about from 10 years ago is coming to fruition. And I'm proud of that.
Sure. These counselors, and we've been doing some due diligence too. I mean, we just had a PhD in leadership, and he worked at colleges and also was a counselor. We asked him the question about what value do you think we could provide most to these counselors? And his answer was, I think that counselors look at what they're doing as very relational, in the room, really counseling the one-on-one, when there are other resources out there that could work alongside what they're doing in the room. And that's what we're here to do. In addition to that, for us as criminal defense attorneys, we're able to use that treatment and mitigation information for negotiating dispositions and educating the prosecutors on who our clients are. Because we often say to our clients, prospective clients in our community, that as prosecutors, you're sitting in that office, you get the file, you open up the file, and it's police reports, it's 911 calls, it's all of the evidence that the police are using to charge somebody. They don't see all of the great things in the defendant's life that we need to breathe life into so that we could provide that information to prosecutors. So that's a great thing to include in these mitigation packages, is the treatment and work that we do with the counselors.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom until, mental health counseling and addiction counseling takes. And sometimes that happens over and over again. So those are our clients. Those are our clients who are in the worst place they've ever been in their lives. And this is an opportunity for them to become better. And I think that your point, just last point, is that I think that sometimes lawyers and counselors and all of us in the system that are doing various different things look myopically at their field only. And that's where we've kind of expanded our horizons. So, being a great lawyer and getting a great legal result is important, but treating a client with humanity and to a space where we can help them improve their lives is a win for them, and it's a win for us as people, as humans.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's another layer to this. It's one thing to help our clients, but I think we're both in a season in our lives where we want to also serve the legal community. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is I was recently appointed, thank you, Tim McGoffrin, the president at the State Bar Association, appointed me to the Attorney Wellness Committee. And I'm working alongside Geraldine Lawrence and a number of other executive members. And it's just an opportunity. And even since I've been in this committee, I've realized the need. I mean, there's been suicides in our community. There's attorneys that are unable to do their jobs. And there are resources out there to help. And one of the things that I'm doing, TEDx was a real eye-opening experience for me personally. And Bob was a TEDx speaker as well. But in mine, I talked about following my inner counsel and really changing the habits and routines in my life. And that experience at TEDx didn't stop that transformation. In fact, I think I've made some of my biggest strides post TEDx in some of the things that I'm learning from others. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a newsletter. I've been putting a lot of time into LinkedIn, and this is going to be Law Life. It's going to be a weekly newsletter that I put out on my LinkedIn profile. And it's going to be talking about these lessons that I'm learning and the habits and the routines and all of the books and other sources that I could consolidate and share with the legal community. Because I recall when I was in law school, I read a book called 1L by Scott Thoreau. And that book talked about how to survive in 3 years of law school. And I have yet to find the book on what to do when you get out.
Yeah.
Law Life is going to be me sharing the tips on really how to be an everyday lawyer and what habits, routines. And I'm really excited, Bob, about doing this. And I know you feel the same way about some of the stuff that you're doing as well.
Yeah, I it's funny. You said that we are on another venture that we're going to be starting, and it kind of fits into it. I'm not sure if you're making a connection. You probably are. We talk all the time about they kind of spit you out into the legal world, and you're left to figure it all out. I remember so vividly as a young assistant prosecutor, us going to a place called the Ukrainian Center and asking, like, how do you do this and how do you admit evidence? And because there was nobody there to teach us, and not too many people were inclined to help that knew what they were talking about. So, I think that that's really true. And so many people who are in law school, going through various stages of your career, then you become a lawyer, then you get some moderate success, and then you're in the middle stage of your career. And like we're doing it in a bar association down, but then what's your legacy going to be? Yeah. If we have the ability to be able to do what you're doing here with your newsletter and us on the education side, to help people move along this process and us work together, because we've taken a lot of time to figure out how to live productive, meaningful lives as lawyers that aren't like you're so ground down. A lot of lawyers, a lot of mental health issues, a lot of addiction issues. Let's better that situation. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. I've had the opportunity to speak a number of times since the TEDx talk about substantive law issues, right? Domestic violence. I mean, we're called upon to talk regularly. And NJAJ convention, State Bar Convention. And when I take the stage, before I even get into the substantive issues, I ask the attorneys out there, just real quick question. By show of hands, who has clients that they're helping that has problems, right? And inevitably, everybody's raising their hand because we're lawyers. We're helping people with problems. And then I ask everybody to put their hand down. Now I want everyone to raise their hand if they're dealing with their own problems and their own stresses and adversities and things along those lines, those challenges. And everyone's got their hands up again. And attorneys are overwhelmed. They're stressed out with their jobs because they're helping others through problems. And when you're constantly dealing with other people's problems, oftentimes it starts to blend into your life as well, because that's how close we get. So I think it's a great conversation. Every time, Bob, every single time I have given that little brief snippet of attorney wellness before getting into the substantive law issues, people are coming up to me. The feedback that I'm getting is so positive. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a great topic. People need to hear this. And I said, I'm going to do whatever I can in this season in my life to really get out, serve others, be a source of positive information for attorneys, young attorneys, old attorneys, whoever wants to subscribe. I'm going to be putting that out weekly.
Young attorneys, freshly made attorneys, and us more mature and sophisticated
wise.
and wise.
Right? I think the wisdom comes later.
Yeah.
Is what we're really talking about.
Yep.
Nothing But the Truth, Bob. Isn't it fun? I mean, the Nothing But the Truth weekly episodes on WMTR radio at 9:30 a.m. on Saturdays, week after week, new content coming out, and we got some good ones.
Yeah, we do. It's all the same themes, right? I mean, you guys can see it. Like everything we're doing is about mindset, about people who have a lot of wisdom and successful things to say. You know, I've always found, Dave, that I've been reading self-help books and things for my whole life. I've always been interested in that area, and everyone's got like the 10 things to do. You know, and you know what? It's sometimes I feel, and I love Nothing But the Truth, because these are people who are really implementing these practices in their lives. So it's not just a theoretical thing; it's an actionable thing, and they're very interesting people. So I love doing the show, and I think it's getting great reviews.
Absolutely. Some of the recent guests have been Dr. James Wittig, who's the chairman of the orthopedic department in Atlantic Health. Joshua B. Lee, the dopamine dealer on LinkedIn. That was a little bit on social media, but still, again, the thread of mindset. Ryan DeGeorge, a Del Barton wrestler who is a freshman state champ in New Jersey. Jonah Perlin, who is a Georgetown law professor and also has his own podcast. And then this upcoming week, we have Sean Schofield, who's that PhD in leadership, who we made 2 episodes. And I think that's the one drawback to Nothing But the Truth, as I see it, is we don't have enough time with a lot of these guests.
Yeah.
It's 2 12-minute segments.
I'd rather be, though, like a firecracker, like compacted and tight and kind of explosive, as opposed to doing it too long and it's too drawn out. So it is true, though. We're getting like this great material, but I think the audience prefers it that way, quick, to the point, and then out. And if we had to do a second episode, because sometimes that's just the way that rolls with some of our guests, we do a second episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened with Sean. We got into attorney wellness. We had a little bonus video that we filmed. Bob's banging the bell back and forth. And then it ended up being a second episode. So next 2 weeks, we're going to be listening to Sean Schofield. So that's April. That's the April sort of landscape of BLG. We continue to represent clients throughout the state of New Jersey and all 21 counties for domestic violence, criminal, and municipal court. And spring is here. Like I said, there's no better season, in my opinion. It's starting to get warm. Summer's on the horizon. It's great to be outside. State Bar Convention this upcoming week. We got a lot of things that we're grateful for and looking forward to.
Hope you're all doing well, and thanks again for your support and for listening to the length of these, because we know that people just don't open them up. They're actually, like, we can tell like how long they're watching, and I don't mean, it lets us know whether or not our content is good, and we really, really appreciate that support. It really means a lot to us. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Peace.
The Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and domestic violence cases. When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.
What should I do if I get arrested? This is a question that's commonly asked of our team of former prosecutors at the Bianchi Law Group. Sometimes individuals know that they're under investigation, or they get arrested and they reach out to a defense lawyer like our team of former prosecutors, and they say, well, what should I do if I get arrested? The first thing to say is, 1, don't resist arrest. I mean, that's the worst thing that you can do. It's going to add to increased charges, so you don't want to do that. But probably the most important piece of advice we give, a part of the 2 golden rules we talk about at the Bianchi Law Group, and that is exercising your right to remain silent and your right to have an attorney present when questions are being asked of you. Now, I'm telling you as a former prosecutor, the police and prosecutors will do everything they can, including incentivizing you, asking you, well, if you don't speak to us, maybe that means you're guilty. Hey, this was going to be a simple matter, but now you're making it more complex. Do not fall for the ruse. There is nothing positive that ever will come out in giving a statement to the police when you're arrested. I can tell you this as a former prosecutor, it's the golden age advice all the way back to the caveman. There were many cases that we would not have ultimately been able to prove as prosecutors if it weren't for the fact that the defendant or the target or the suspect or the person arrested gave a statement and filled in the blanks. Remember, prosecutors have to prove a case to 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt before you're convicted of a crime. My experience has informed me that those who are targets or who are arrested that are used to the criminal justice system, you rarely, if ever, see them giving a statement because they've been through the system and they know the peril with giving a statement to the police. They immediately say, I want to remain silent and I want my right to an attorney. Let me caveat here, stop, slice just for a second. And by the by, because I see this happening all the time and it still continues in my mind respectfully. If you exercise your right to remain silent and you're in a police station or you're in custody at a prosecutor's office or a law enforcement agency, also, do not fall for the, well, hold out in the room over here. We'll be back with you in a couple of minutes, and 20 minutes goes by, and 30 minutes goes by, and then an officer walks in the door. Hey, how you doing? Can I get you a soda? Can I get you a crumb bun? Can I, whatever. Hey, will you sign a consent form for us to search? You know, and all these things. It's what I respectfully believe that some do to create a thing called reinitiation. Reinitiation under the law means that once you assert your right to remain silent, our law says that right to remain silent has to be scrupulously, that's the word in the case law, honored by law enforcement. So they have to cease all questioning at that point in time. And so there could be a scenario where they do that, but they come back in and they hope that you're going to, quote unquote, reinitiate, because that's another aspect of the law. Is they say if a defendant on their own reinitiates a conversation with prosecutors and police, then they can take that statement once they reread your rights. So don't, as you're stewing in the room, as you're marinating in fear and all the things that are going on, be deceived as your mind is thinking and thinking, maybe it's better that I give a statement. So I can't emphasize enough. What do you do when you get arrested? Well, you allow them to arrest you. If there is an issue as to the legality of that, that will be argued in the court of law. And you exercise your right to remain silent and have an attorney present, and you continue to do that throughout. Also, when you're arrested, many times they're going to come and they're going to ask you for consent. Consent to search your person, consent to search your car, consent to search your home, consent to search your cell phone. You have a right to refuse consent, and you should exercise that right. If they have the probable cause to believe that they can see something, they can very easily pick up a telephone and electronically get a judge to issue a search warrant. Many times during the arrest process, we see clients who are consenting to something that they should never have consented to. Listen, and I don't want to harp on this point with arrest, but it's really the most important thing, like what to do if you get arrested. When you're in that scenario, anything you say can be used against you, will be used against you. Any cooperation that you're giving by way of consent is only assisting the prosecutors and the police to perhaps build evidence against you, whether you're guilty or not guilty of an offense. And down the road, if a lawyer, once you're represented, second most important thing, what do you do when you're arrested? Remain silent. Second most important thing, get as capable and competent an attorney that you can afford. Lawyering makes a difference. And down the road, if your lawyers assess this case and they believe that you should give a statement, there's nothing that stops you from giving a statement down the road with your attorney present, or if they think that you should consent to something, that's something that can be done as well. But that should be done only after the competent advice of a very good and skilled criminal trial lawyer. Look, our team of former prosecutors at the Bianchi Law Group have built these investigations. We understand how the scenario works. We know the nooks and crannies. And we also know that having a right to an effective attorney is very, very, very important. Even when you do have a lawyer, I will say this, 99.9% of the time, if you are arrested, the lawyers are not going to, or advise you not to speak to law enforcement, and they're going to advise you not to consent. So the question we get asked a lot, what do I do if I get arrested, comes down to two basic things in summation. One, exercise your right to remain silent, and two, get the most capable and competent defense attorney that you can, because lawyering does make a difference in these cases. So we get asked this question all the time. Try to keep your wits about you. It's an intimidating environment. It's meant to be an intimidating environment, but you're not the first and you won't be the last to have been arrested. So if you follow those 2 golden rules, remain silent, hire the best lawyer you can afford, you will have put yourself in a distinctively advantageous position. I hope the video helps. Of course, if you ever need any assistance, you can contact the Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors practicing throughout the state of New Jersey. You can find us at www.bianchilawgroup.com. I hope the video is helpful. Thank you.
We're the Bianchi Law Group, a team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys.
But here's the thing. He put himself in a box when he said...
Relied on by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Law and Crime, and news leaders across the country for our criminal defense expertise.
In a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime's been committed and there's evidence in a particular place.
When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.